As we journey through our life, each calendar year of the church is like a journey for each of us individually as we're going through life, except that it is condensed to 1 year rather than to however many years we might live. But it shows to us the ability of God and the provision of God and the adjustment that comes in our lives as we receive the truth from God and we reject then the things that are of the world, which bring to us sadness and sorrow and also bring to us eventually death. Dying in that spiritual realm that we do not have any relationship with God. And so as we come through this journey, we have received, in the first 6 months of the calendar year, we have received everything from God. And we've received it out of a heart of compassion and love and mercy. Remember, God is love. He does not act in love, He is. It's much different than acting love, because we can act love and then turn it off and do something else, but He is love. Therefore, His provision for us and His love and His compassion for us is intense. We see many times things happening in our life and we believe that we are being punished. We believe that God is doing evil against us. It cannot be. Because God is a God of good. Everything He has done is good. And even though it might seem at the moment to be a punishment, it is not punishment. It may be discipline, but it's there to make us grow and to cause us to become greater in His kingdom and become like Him. If you remember the life of Christ, He came leaving the divinity of heaven to take upon the flesh of man, born like man would be born as a baby. Now remember, He's God, and yet He has never been a baby. He's never come down to that point where He needs to have His mother give Him milk, where He needs to have someone change His diaper when somebody has to take care of Him. He has never been this way. You can imagine royalty coming down to that level to make the sacrifice for us, that He can bring us up to His level. We celebrate His birth, we celebrate most of His life, but without recognizing, realizing what He is going through in our behalf. It would be like a billionaire coming into a squatter area and living there in order to prove that he can come out of that and help the people understand you don't have to stay there. But yet at the same time he has denied all the fullness of his life in order to help others. So if we see Christ in this matter, we see the love of God in such a way, we recognize that when it talks to us about things that seem to be impossible, or things that seem to be difficult, or things that might be painful, we need to understand what it's saying. In the gospel today, it talks about those who are, the question is, are only a few being saved? Jesus didn't reply directly. He was a good politician. He just simply made a statement that said, some strive to enter the narrow door, for many, I tell you, will seek to enter but not be able. So he doesn't say a few, because he wants us to understand that there is a pattern, or there is a work that we must do in order to have received what He's given to us and put it into a practice. Striving means struggle. It means conflict. It means battle. It means pushing, not giving up, being faithful to something to a point where we're going to make it happen. going to take care of it. And this is something we need to comprehend. We have been blessed. But those blessings are worthless unless we strive to implant them and provide them for our living, our life, and a witness to the world around us. If you remember the collect of the day, something that I believe is very challenging to us because it talks to us about the fact that as the church, we should be manifesting His power among all the people. We should be manifesting His power. We should be living out a life like Him. It's not just a matter of us coming together on a Sunday or whatever day it might be and hearing the Word of God and giving our money and singing a couple of songs and then going out and living like the world. No, that's not what God wants. He wants us to live as though we were Christ. I remind you again how many times I've said this. Jesus Himself said, "The things that I have done you shall do, and even greater than these." Now this means that I have to strive to fight the battle against my mind and the habits around me that tell me I can't, you can't. Because the Scriptures tell us all things are possible. There is no impossibilities with Christ. He can change the things that are against us to cause them to bless us instead of destroy us. But we have to strive for that, and possibly the greatest battle we have is with this thing sitting on our shoulder. To believe, we say, "Oh, I believe. Yes, it's okay to say you believe, but do you live it? Christ has given much to us. Tremendous, tremendous gifts He's given to us. And He will not destroy us. He will not. In Hebrews it talks about in the latter times, He will shake everything once again, heaven and earth. But it goes on to say that we are a part of His kingdom which cannot be shaken. So never mind what's going to happen. Some people are so fearful and anxious about, what's going to happen? Maybe I will be destroyed when these things happen. No, the kingdom, if you are living in the kingdom, you will not be shaken because you're covered by Christ. Entering into this door that he's talking about is coming to Christ and being born again. New life. It's through Christ that we can go through that door. We cannot go through that door on our own. It doesn't matter how good we are. It doesn't matter how many good deeds we've done. They will not take us through the door. The door comes open to us when we have received Christ into our life. Because at that point it is Christ who is entering in the kingdom. Because we are one with Him. It's amazing when you put the Scriptures together. In Psalms 119 it says the sum total of the word is truth. Not one word, not one verse, not one chapter is truth. It's the total that is truth. It tells us in Romans that we were baptized, when we are baptized into Christ. Like Israel was baptized into Moses, and Moses covered Israel for the whole time they were in the wilderness. It was because of Moses, as he approached God in their behalf, they got manna, they got meat, they got water, they were protected. Everything came through because of being baptized into Moses. We, being baptized into Christ, now have Christ's life as our life. This is why many times I have encouraged you, read Colossians. Read Colossians because it shares there all those things that Christ did are for us and they are ours. But we have to strive to accept them. because they don't just automatically be manifested in our lives. They're there, yes. It's like the life of Christ, the life of God is within us. And yet if we do not recognize it and we don't strive to live it, it does us very little in benefit. And so this is the challenge of today's lessons to us, striving. Striving to make certain that these things that God has given to us, we're not going to lose them. When God makes a promise, God will fulfill his promise. He does not lie. Our mind will tell us, you've got to do it for yourself. You do it, you do it, you do it, you do it. There are things which we do, but the ability to do comes from him. And it's a matter of us then manifesting what he has given to us in order that it can be made full in our lives. We've been delivered from the punishment of our sins. We've been separated from that. We've been forgiven. Our mind will tell us over and over again, I'm being punished because of this. I made this mistake, now I'm being punished. We've been forgiven. But we must strive to receive what God has given to us. It has to be a battle within us. It's a fight. Scriptures will tell us this in Hebrews chapter 12. It says, striving against sin. You have not shed the blood yet in striving against sin, challenging us to realize, look what Christ did for us. He was striving. His time in the Garden of Gethsemane, sweating drops of blood, striving against his own feelings, his own emotions, because he had taken on the flesh of man. And so his thinking, his other things were much like us. And he lived this out so that we could have a pattern for our lives. But he was striving against it. Lord, isn't there another way we can do this? Let's make it easier. Let's take the easy way. Is this not much the way we live our lives today? We don't want to pay a high price. We want miktawa. Let's do it easy. Let's do it another way. Let's not have conflict. Let's not have all these things going on in our life that cause us to be pulled down. No, we face those. Christ said, finally, thy will be done, not mine. He accepted the battle that he was going to have to go through. He was striving in the midst of his trial to be loving. He didn't attack his accusers. He didn't defend himself. He stood innocently in the midst of demons. And yet he did not reject it. He accepted it. He went to the cross. On the cross you heard him say, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. This is striving. If these things would happen to most of us, I could probably honestly say all of us. If someone would do this to us, we're going to strike back. We're not going to be silent. We're not just going to take it and sit down and say, I forgive you. No, I'm going to take it out. But this is what striving is, because he's given to us peace. He's given to us the victory already. It's ours. And if we don't understand this, it can be tense for us. And that tension and that strife becomes a sin because we are not manifesting what we've been given and we're living in doubt. So the striving is an internal conflict in many cases of getting things out of our life that should not be there and bringing the faith to believe in what God has given to us and what he has promised to us to be made manifest. In 1 Timothy it says, fight the fight of good faith and take hold of eternal life. Fight the fight of faith. Now, it's not talking about this kind of fighting. It's talking about that internal battle that comes on in our mind when we see that we are in need of something. It's not there. Do we have the faith to believe God promised He will supply? We can supply in many different ways. But what He promised, He will give to us. Probably one of the biggest problems we have today, possibly, is health. Because we have all around us, all this magnificent assistance that is being offered to us. They can do almost anything now, even to a point of being able to make parts for your body out of a computer, so that they will be able to use them inside the body. And we think, wow, why should I just go through this pain waiting for God to manifest this healing in me when I can go get it in just a little while? Or I can run to the pharmacy and I can get this medication which will take care of this. Good, now it's fine. Yes, until the pill runs out. But you see, we have the battle. And I bring this out because this is probably the biggest battle we face, is our health. God intended us to be well and strong. That was His promise to us. But you see, the world is impacting things to us, telling us, oh, you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. I've gone sometimes to a doctor for some reason or another, and they'll say, what is your maintenance? I don't have any. What? At your age you don't have any maintenance? They expect you to have maintenance. You have to have help. You can't do this on your own. And so they want to give you. Why? Because the pharmaceutical companies are making money. And the doctors are being given benefits from that, vacations and so forth, by helping the pharmaceutical companies go. So you need to have you need to have this maintenance. You can't do this on your own. You can't. But you can do it with Christ. Christ is our source. Now it's a battle we fight. It's striving. Striving. And this is what the faith requires of us. Yes, it's been given to us. It talks about here when the household, the master of the household comes and locks the door, and the people on the outside are knocking on the door and say, hey, let us in, open it. He says, I don't know who you are. They say, oh, we ate with you. We sat with you. We listened to you. You taught us. Yes, but they didn't live it out. They didn't put it into practice. And so they were pushed on the outside. This is a challenge to us because most Christians, I believe, feel they are safe because I believe. I believe. I can do whatever I want, but I believe. I'm fine. Pattern of this was with the mafia in Italy. The mafia was stealing, murdering, doing all kinds of things. They would go to church, say the Mass, give the church some money, and get forgiven. Then they go back out and do the same thing all over again. That's not what the life of Christ is all about. It isn't just receiving something and then pushing it aside, but it's living it. It's the example, the church being a powerhouse to the world. Not falling into the same patterns that the world has put upon them, but striving to put on the new life. Striving to walk in love. Striving to walk in patience. I'm not talking about doctors. I'm talking about us having patience. Knowing it shall be. Already? Not yet. But it will be. It shall be. I put my faith, my confidence in this. Putting on the new life. Facing the difficulties. Not running away from them. Don't run away from them. Let God be God. I was remembering an incident that happened 35, 40 years ago almost. And we were here in the Philippines on a visa, like a work type visa ministry. And the visa was canceled and we were here. And we had started work. What were we going to do? They wanted us to leave. They wanted us deported. So we finally were able to make an appointment with the head of Commission of Immigration. And the day we went to the commission's office, when we arrived there, there was a brownout. And the commissioner's office was air conditioned, but because there's no electricity, there's no air conditioning, and his windows were sealed, so he couldn't open the windows, and it was hot. And he said, let's just go out in the hallway and talk. Go out in the hallway and talk. All these people going up and down the hallway, and you're going to go out there and talk about things, that are kind of personal. When we got out there, then there was a gentleman that was the one that was wanting us out of the country, just happened to walk by. And he told the commissioner, this person is no good. Get him out of this country. He needs to be out of here, because he just kept going on and pointing his finger and hollering at the commissioner. So much so that the security guards came and pulled their guns. And I thought, oh, okay, that's it, all over. Then the commissioner said, excuse me, this is the Philippines. I'm the commissioner of immigration. I make the decisions. You as an American don't tell me what to do. If I want Mr. Hines to stay here, he can stay here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to be the one to sponsor him. You see, the stress point when everything seems against you, don't believe it as true. Don't believe it. To this day, immigration doesn't know why I have all the papers I have. But it was because of a problem, because of conflict, because of an attack. God can turn it around and it can become something good. But you have to strive. I didn't give up. I could have had just left. No, I was striving because I believed I was sent here. You hold on to what you know is yours. And even in the midst of conflict, attack, or whatever, hold firm. When everything is against you, remember, God is for you. And greater is He who is for you than he who is against you. Building the faith in our lives to stand firm against whatever may come our direction which is not of God. It may be a test. It may be that thing that is there to build us up, but we can't give in to it. We have to strive, stand firm, and not let the enemy deceive us. Because if, we're talking about health, the enemy will say, hey, wait a minute, I've got a pill that'll take care of this. You just have to take it twice a day for the rest of your life. And you have to pay us $6,000 a month. By just picking things out, but you'll be okay. Can you not believe that God can heal that situation? Maybe those situations that temporarily, we're confronted with them and we're not holding firm, but we can stand with God and let God be the one in our life that will cause things to become what they're supposed to be. Strive to change our thoughts, our fears, our doubts. Strive to change it. If God said it, that's enough. If He said it, I believe it. That's it. We have to hold that. Not give up on that. Even though things seem to go the wrong direction, hold on to that. Challenge will be there against us. But if we hold firm, we will come out the way God intended us to come out. Remember, we haven't yet striven against sin to shed our blood. Christ shed his blood to fight against sin. He took the stripes. He could have run from this. As some of the scripture says, he could have called 10,000 angels to come and rescue him. He didn't. He faced it. He was striving. Why? To destroy the power of sin against man. Not just against him. He was doing this for the benefit of all of humanity. But he strove. He was willing to do this, sweating drops of blood. You can imagine the pain that was intense in his body. The skin on the back ripped off by the beating, pulling of the hair out of the flesh. All these things he went through. The intensity of it because of the intensity of the power of sin against mankind. He had to destroy its ability. Even going to hell. What happened on the third day? He was resurrected. And his resurrection was not his resurrection alone. It was ours. We're not bound by sin. Sin does not have the power over us. Sickness, disease, financial problems, these things do not have power over us. They're deceptive. They're deceiving us to think, oh, I can't do this because of this, because of that. No, it's not true. Greater is he who is with us than he who is against us. We must hold this true. In 2 Timothy it says not to be entangled so much in the affairs of everyday life. Because this, again, many times will reject the things of God because we can do it in our own ability. We're just so tied up with these things. 2 Timothy it also says, be diligent to present yourself approved to God as a workman. A workman. Not one on welfare, but one taking what's been given and putting it into practice, living it out, helping others face the difficulties. Then in Romans 12, verses 1 and 2, it says, present your bodies a living sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. It's not talking about singing a song. It's talking about the giving of our life to do the things of God. This is worship. When we live out the promise of God so the world sees it, now we are worshiping him. We're giving him all the glory. We're not giving the glory to the doctor. Excuse me, I'm not against doctors. But we're not giving the glory to the doctor. We're not giving the glory to the pharmaceutical company. We're not giving the glory to the bank. We're not giving the glory to immigration department or government. We're not giving them the glory. We're giving God the glory because he is the source of our life. He is the power that gives us the ability to rise above all these things. This is worship to him. You can sing until you can't sing anymore, till you're blue in the face and falling on the ground from lack of breath. It won't be received from God as worship if it's not in the work that God has given us to do. Yes, we're to worship, yes. But we worship because God is great. We worship because God has done much for us and it has changed our lives. No. I'm not against worship. Don't misunderstand that either. But we can be professional worshipers and it'll be worthless. Worship comes out of a changed life. It comes out of receiving what God has given to us and what he has presented to us. Acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship, presenting your body. Because it's through your body that the world can see God is great. This is why Christ took upon the flesh, because he wanted the world to see great is our God. And how do they see it? Through Christ. How is the world going to see it today? Through you and through me. What are we doing to let them see the greatness of God? Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing of your mind. Here's the battle. Strive with the mind. I can. Not I can't. I can. Why? Because of Christ. I can. That you may prove what is the will of God. Prove the will of God. That which is good, acceptable, and perfect. Perfect. 1 Timothy is something that I toy with a lot because I hear these things, you can't do this, you can't do that. It says, have nothing to do with worldly fables, fit only for old women. Excuse me, ladies. I didn't write this. Fit only for old women. How many fables have we been given through traditions or through whatever, and we hold on to them? Oh, this will, this, that, and whatever. When we were living in Indonesia, they had this thing that if you were in hot weather and you took a cold shower, the wind would enter into you and you'd get sick. Masuk angin. What they called it, masuk angin. And you're going to have problems because you take a shower. But you know what? I get the same thing here in the Philippines, where people will tell you, you can't take a shower and, right after you do your exercises because you're too hot. Then what do they do in the gym? Do they leave the gym smelling sweaty? No. They take a shower. Do they get sick? No. Old lives, old women's lives. Old wives' tales. So many of these things. And we listen to them. To have nothing to do with worldly fables. Worldly fables. Worldly fables. And all around us there's all kinds of things that go on. You can't get a job if you haven't got a college education. Worldly fable. Some of the richest people in this nation have never gone to college. And they're now controlling us who have gone to college. And now they bought the colleges. Old wives' tales. See, our lives many times are controlled by these things. They're not true. They're not there. Fit only for old women. On the other hand, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. Godliness. Striving. And here's the battlefield. This is the battlefield. We've been taught by educational systems and other things certain ways, and yet not true. Because with God, all things are possible. I can remember when I was taking physics in college, they would tell us, you can't do this, you can't mix this with this, and can't mix this with that. They're doing it now. Why? Because anything is possible. Basically, anything is possible. It's how to do it. But sometimes we set ourselves to impossibility. You can't do that. You can't do that. But you can. This is our limitations. Don't let those things hold you. What God promised is what we believe. Not only believe, but live. Strive. This is what's going to get us through the door. Not just that we believe, not just seeking. Because seeking, you will find. But once you found it, what are you doing with it? Are you doing anything with it? If you're not doing anything with it, the seeking is not worthwhile. The sum total of the Word is truth, not just certain things. So we put them all together and begin to realize we must live out the task. When I read the Collect of the Day, I was challenged because it says the church should manifest the power of God to the world around us. I'm not sure we're doing that. I don't see the church manifesting much power. I'm not pointing fingers to others here. We must manifest what God has given to us. The challenge that is ours. Nope. Sister Chato's gone. Are we going to carry on her work? Are we going to be what God gave her to do? Are we going to finish it? Are we going to do that? Somehow, that's a challenge to us. It's a responsibility that is ours. We need to manifest this so that we can do the work that God has given us to do, because we've been given the ability. We lack in no good thing. Everything pertaining to life and godliness is given to us. Are we receiving it? Do we believe it? And are we acting on it? The challenge. 10th Sunday. Challenge to us to live out what God has given to us. Amen.